Okay, well, hi everybody. Doug Bench here with you, talking to you from North Central Florida tonight. I hope every one of you had the best Christmas ever and the best New Year's ever. And one of the things people do at the beginning of a new year is make resolutions. Well, I got to tell you, that's hog manure. New Year's resolutions are hog manure. We're going to be talking science tonight. And based on brain science, you've got to set goals, not resolutions. And we're going to go over the 10 rules for goal setting. That's all based on brain research. And we're even going to give you the basis for that brain research. And then we're going to talk about paving your interstates. These are 2 of the 16 Brain Apples techniques that we published in our Mind Your Brain system and in our Revolutionize Your Brain book. And they are vitally important for you to have the best possible year in 2015. We had the absolute best Christmas we've ever experienced, actually. If you follow us on Facebook, which you all should, by the way, if you're on Facebook, ask to be our friend, Doug Bench, and we'll confirm that request, and then you can see some of the pictures and some of the information that we post on our Facebook page. And tell you the truth, I think if you followed my wife on Facebook, you'd probably learn more. Her name is Jan Barkowski Bench, and she posts on Facebook about 5, 6, 7, 8 times a day. But I got to tell you, we were out at our Colorado ranch from 2 days before Christmas until just 2 days ago. And over that time period, we had all of our combined families there, my children, my wife's children, and all of the grandkids. We had a total of 21 people at our ranch. The only one missing was my wife's son, Jamie, who is a chef, and of course he had to work at a restaurant down in Orlando, and that's their busy time, so he wasn't able to make it. And then our youngest grandson, Dayton Wells Bench, who lives in Tallahassee, the young man that was born way premature. His parents made it, and Grandma kept little Dayton. He's 5 months old now, almost. But we had a fantastic time. It started snowing about noon on Christmas Day, and it snowed 8 inches, and so there was plenty of snow for sledding, and it was beautiful, and it wasn't too cold, and it was darn near perfect. And there's a whole bunch of pictures about it if you want to see them on our Facebook pages. But man, oh man, we have got to get into information about goal setting and how you can reach those goals and make 2015 your best year ever. That picture that you're seeing on the page right now, brains are awesome. I got to be honest with you. Sometimes I post that a little differently with a set of parentheses underneath it. Brains are awesome, parentheses, don't you wish everybody had one, end of parentheses, because sometimes they just don't all have their brains working in proper order. But that's a negative, so let's get off of that and get into the meat of tonight's session, which is how do you scientifically assure yourself you can reach your goals? Well, first of all, you got to start thinking about setting your goals, and we're going to give you all the rules for that. And then on a scientific basis, how you can ensure that you're going to reach them. That's vitally important that you do it on a scientific basis. So let's start with some background about this. You've all heard for years that you've got to formulate your goals, and one of the golden rules of setting goals, of course, is that you write them down. You know that is. you've got to formulate and articulate your dreams into what we call goals. A goal is, boy, you've heard this for years and years. I think it started with Zig Ziglar, I'm not sure, that goals are your dreams with a deadline. And that's really kind of true. But your goals you have got to lay them out in an extremely specific way so that the part of your brain that works automatically, your non-conscious brain, can go to work for you in reaching those goals. It's one of the greatest scientific discoveries of the last dozen years, and that is that your non-conscious brain will act upon the orders that you send it. And when you set goals, your non-conscious brain takes that as an order to bring those goals into being for you. It happens automatically if, and oh, is that a big if you present your goals to your non-conscious brain in a scientifically based way. You have got to do that. There's a part of your brain called the reticular activating system. And if you've come to any of our seminars, you've heard me talk about that. And oh, hey, doggone it, before we get any further, I got to give you some dates. And at the end of the webinar tonight, we'll give you the date of our big 3-day event that we have coming up in March and how you can get enrolled in that event. But of course, tonight is our January Mastermind. Our February Mastermind is going to be on Thursday, February 12th. So mark your calendars for that, February 12th. Towards the end of January, we're going to have one of our Marketing for Millions seminars down in West Palm Beach. That will be on the 24th of January. That's That's 2 weeks from this Saturday. We're going to have down in West Palm, probably at the Embassy Suites on Belvedere, but that's not been totally confirmed yet. They were supposed to send me back a contract when I got back from Colorado, but it wasn't here. So I'm going to be calling them tomorrow and confirm that. But if you're within 100 miles of West Palm Beach, you have got to come to that one-day Marketing for Millions. I'll tell you more about that after the seminar today, webinar today. And then in March, we will be having a 3-day event in Orlando. Man, oh man, you absolutely do not want to miss that. It will be on the 27th, 28th, and 29th of March. In Orlando, location to be determined, probably out by the airport, but we'll start at like 6 in the evening on Friday. We'll go all day Saturday and all day Sunday, and I'm telling you, I'm giving you a guarantee that if you attend that event, your brain will achieve at about a 300% higher level, and your brain will start bringing you automatically money-making ideas that you can turn into cash in your bank accounts. Stay tuned for that, and man, oh man, you don't want to miss that 3-day event. We're going to have a lot of people there. We're going to bring in a couple outside speakers. I'll tell you more about it when we get through tonight's session. All right. We mentioned that your goals have to be very specific, and you have to present them to your brain in a science-based way. Why? Because your non-conscious brain, which is 5/6 of your brain's power, is pre-programmed by the Creator to go to work for your goals if it can understand them. And if you present those goals to your brain in a scientifically based way, it can go to work to bring you those goals. And one of the ways that works is through the use of your reticular activating system. Now, the reticular activating system in your brain is a bundle of neurons that work together. It has two major functions. We've talked about this in our Mind Your Brain system and in our Bankroll Your Brainpower training. You might recall it. Your reticular activating system, number one function is to send to the proper part of your brain all impulses that come into your brain so that they can be properly interpreted by your brain, whether it's a sight impulse, a sound impulse, a touch, a smell, a thought, whatever it is. There are particular parts of your brain that analyze those neuron impulses, and you want to make sure that those impulses get to the right part of your brain for interpretation. That's one of the major jobs of your RAS, reticular activating system. Sometimes I call it RAS. But the bigger function, the biggest function of your reticular activating system is when an impulse comes in to your brain, whether it's a thought coming up from your subconscious, something you see, something you hear, something you smell, whatever it is, every single impulse that comes into your brain, your reticular activating system immediately determines whether that impulse pattern is something that is important to you or not so important. What? How does it do that? Well, it's obviously pretty complicated, so we're not going to talk about it in fancy, complicated words between me and you. I couldn't do that anyway. But what happens is your reticular activating system keeps track of everything you've thought about for the last 21 to 100 days, and kind of keeps a list, you know. You've thought about this more than anything else, and there's a number 2 on that list, and number 3 on that list, number 4 on that list, and so on. And if you've thought about something a lot in the last 30 to 100 days, let's say, your reticular activating system knows that that's something important to you. I call it putting it on your important list. If your RAS sees what's on your important list, which it does, of course, in a scientific way, then it will send that impulse to your conscious brain for immediate reaction and interpretation. You have no choice in the matter. It happens automatically. Now, if it's something you haven't been thinking about much in the last 30 to 100 days, then it sends that impulse pattern to your non-conscious brain for memory storage and maybe recall later. One of the classic examples the scientists use is if you buy a new car. If you recently got a new car, that is important to you. You've been thinking about it a lot every day, before you buy it and then after you bought it. So years ago, I bought a 2001 Chevy Tahoe. It was the first SUV I ever bought. Never had one before. Excuse me. Caught a cold out there in Colorado. A week ago, Tuesday, we went down into the little town called Lyons, Colorado, which is down the mountain from our ranch, about 6 miles down the mountain, because there's a bar there called Oscar Blues, and every Tuesday night, excuse me, at Oscar Blues, all of the pickers from all over come in with their banjos, mandolins, guitars, bass fiddles, violins, or, boy, I knew it was going to be trouble to get through this tonight. I've got some cough drops here, so bear with me, because this information is very important. I apologize. That particular night, I don't know, I think there were about 20 musicians there from about age 12 up to probably age 75. And they sit in a big circle, and most of the time they have a beer sitting in front of them, and they just start picking. Somebody kind of points to one of them, and they take off in a solo riff. And it's phenomenal. We took all the grandkids down for that, and they were dancing and having a fantastic time. But when that was over, and we were driving back up the mountain, in the snow, of course, the temperature gauge in our car read -23. Now, that's the coldest we've ever had it in Colorado, and that was crazy cold. And thank goodness all the cars worked fine and nobody slid off the road, because that would have been disastrous. But what a wonderful thing for the grandkids to experience. I'm sorry, I got off track there. But in 2001, I bought a Chevy Tahoe. Now, I had never had an SUV before. So it wasn't pretty important to me because, for one thing, it cost a doggone a lot of money. And I was careful in picking out the color and the options and everything. And you know what happened? When I got that home, I started seeing Chevy Tahoes everywhere. Wasn't looking for them, wasn't trying to notice them, but they were everywhere. Why? There weren't any more than there were before, but now my reticular activating system was sending the impulses of all the Tahoes I was seeing to my conscious level automatically. So if you learn from this, and we can show you how to get your goals onto your reticular activating system's important list, you will automatically notice things related to your goals. You follow me? You won't have to worry about procrastination anymore. It'll become automatic through the use of inner states and specifically setting your goals, following the rules I'm about to give you. You got it made. But you got to practice this and practice this for about 30 days before they're burned in good enough for your reticular activating system to always call your attention to that. All right, let's start through this list of 10. I hope you all, I came on a little early and reminded those that were here early to have paper and pencil. If you don't, quick hurry, get yourself some paper and pencil, because I want you to write these all down. And sure, I could show them on the screen, not going to do it, because if you write them down, that will burn it into your RAS quicker, that these things are important to you. And wouldn't you know it, rule number 1 in formulating your goals is you must write them down. Physically write them down. And I don't mean type them on your computer. The physical act of your hand moving and writing them down is much more effective. The physical act of handwriting your goal on paper is much more powerful than typing. You are sending visual and auditory and tactile signals to your non-conscious brain. It's a matter of hard science. Do not skip this step. I mean, there's been studies going back 60 years. I think it was about 1953 when they did a study at Yale, and they monitored the graduates from Yale in 1953 10 years later in 1963, which is the year I graduated from high school. But they monitored these people, and guess what? Those who wrote down their goals when they graduated from college, 95% of them reached their goals for 10 years later. Are you kidding me? Yeah, you got to write them down. And of course, back then, they did not know the brain science basis for that fact. We sure do now. It's to get them onto your important list. Write your goals down, number one. Number two, your goals must generate emotion in you. If they do not generate emotion, then they're not strong enough goals. They're not difficult enough goals to form long-lasting connections in your brain that are easy to fire and refire. Your goal must trigger a release of the powerful emotional neurotransmitters and hormones in your brain when you think about it. The major thing that's released is proteins if you're highly emotionally charged and your goals are highly charged, and that forms stronger, longer lasting, easier firing connections. If it doesn't generate emotion, forget it. Find another goal. So one of the criteria that you need to decide upon when you think of a goal or you write one down is, does this goal rate a 10 on the scale of desirability? You know, 0 being not desirable, or and 10 being most desirable. Are you excited about the goal? Do you really want it? Are you filled with a sense of joy and enthusiasm when you visualize your goal's achievement? Be honest with yourself. If your goal doesn't meet that criteria, scratch it. Be ruthless with yourself. All right, that's number two. Number three. Your goal's got to be difficult enough to stretch you. I mean, you don't need a sledgehammer to drive a thumbtack. If you think you can reach your goal easily, get rid of it. It's not tough enough. Reserve your brain's energy for seemingly, underline that word, impossible objectives. It has got to be sufficiently difficult. If it is, it'll cause your brain to form new DSP connections and expand your abilities. But I said seemingly impossible objectives. See, that's number three. Because number four, write it down, your goal must be believable. I didn't say believed yet, but it must be believable. Your non-conscious brain must consider your goal as possible, as believable. But frankly, listen carefully. This is one of the most important tenets in goal setting. It does not matter yet whether your prefrontal cortex conscious brain believes you can achieve that goal. That is irrelevant at this point. Your power in your brain is not at the conscious level. I wrote an article that's been published all over the internet called Willpower is Greatly Overrated. And that article is all based on science, brain science. It does not matter if your conscious brain believes you can reach that goal in the beginning. That is so cool. Now, your non-conscious brain is not going to respond to a goal that you can't possibly attain. You know, like, I have a goal to live forever. No, 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 no. I have a goal to lose 40 pounds by next Saturday. No, 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 no. Your non-conscious brain will not respond to those. Your goals need to be believable. But you don't have to yet believe it at the conscious level. That is way, way cool. At our 3-day event coming up in March, we're going to explain that in much greater detail because that is extremely powerful. You don't have to believe you can reach your goals at the conscious level. It's what your non-conscious brain believes as believable. And then it acts upon those. Doesn't matter whether you believe it yet or not. That's so, so cool. I've experienced that so many times in my life. And when we have, 3 days, I'll explain that in much greater detail. Number 5, your goal must be specific, comprehensive, and quantifiable. You have to be able to quantify it. Give it a number, for example. You must make sure that your non-conscious brain has a clear and detailed picture of exactly what you want. Don't just tell your brain that you want a new house this year. Tell your non-conscious brain you want a 3-story brownstone in Midtown Manhattan with a red front door and single-pane wooden sealed windows, or whatever it is you want. You have got to lay it out specifically. Your non-conscious brain needs some way to measure your specific goal. A dollar amount, a size, a time span, a degree of pleasure, ranked on a scale from 1 to 10. You have to be able to quantify it. Otherwise, your brain will not be able to measure progress. I will never, ever forget this. My wife and I, gosh darn, it'll be 12 years that we've been married in February, Valentine's Day. And even since before we were married, my wife and I always would go away a weekend at the end of the year or at the beginning of the year, the next year, and set our goals, our family goals, our spiritual goals, our business goals, our family goals. And at the time of this example, we were living in a rented house in Orlando. And one of our goals was to be in our dream home by Christmas of 2004. And then we started describing our dream house. Oh my gosh. We wanted a horse farm. We wanted the house to sit on a hill. We wanted a pond out back where the grandkids could go fishing. We wanted a Florida cracker style home with a metal roof. We laid it out in writing exactly what we wanted. You guys, that was in 2002, towards the end of the year. And I got to tell you, my conscious brain said, there is no way you can have all of that. You can't afford that. You know what happened? In the summer of 2004, I taught a seminar, a contractor CE seminar in Ocala. And of course, here, this is horse country up here. So my wife said, let's go looking for our dream home. So we did. We drove around. And you know what? Unbelievably, the home that we both pictured in our mind, we found. And it was for sale. I couldn't believe it. And we were in that home for Christmas in 2004. Even though my conscious brain didn't think that could ever happen. Now there's a smidgen of a difference. When I used to visualize that goal, I would visualize our grandkids, who were, of course, much younger at that time, fishing in the pond out back and coming up the hill to the house and slamming the screen door and coming in and saying, "Grandpa, look at the fish I caught." Well, you have got to be specific about your dreams, and you've got to repeat them over and over again visually, because that's exactly the experience we had when we moved into our dream home here in McIntosh, Florida. The only difference is the pond isn't out behind the house. The pond is out in front of the house. But everything else was exactly as we dreamed it. Your goal must be specific, comprehensive, and you must make it measurable, quantifiable. In fact, that's goal number 6, relates to goal number 5. Make your progress measurable. See, if you quantify it in goal number 5, then you're giving your non-conscious brain a way of assessing your progress as you're working towards your goal. You know how the old story is that a farmer would put a carrot on a stick and hold it out in front of the donkey so it would move forward. Well, that carrot was never reachable. It wasn't long till the donkey said, "Screw you, I'm not chasing that thing." That'd be a formula for disaster for us as humans. So you want to give a picture to your brain that measures whether you've taken a step in the right direction, keep you on the right path. It would be a tremendous benefit to your brain. Measuring brings in your enthusiasm. Whoa, I was 9 steps from my goal last month. Now I'm only 8. And your enthusiasm is what? Emotion. Yeah. Make your progress measurable. You with me now? Number 7. Set a deadline, and in capital letters put dash in pencil. Set a deadline in pencil. Your dreams are in ink. Your goals are in pencil. It is totally within the rules to erase the deadline of your goal and change it, because there are things outside of your control that can influence that deadline, that you cannot foresee, that you cannot in any way anticipate. It would be a disaster if you allowed those outside things to destroy your enthusiasm. No, 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 no. You just change the deadline. But you've got to set one. Your non-conscious brain needs that. But you write it in pencil. Don't tell your brain, "Well, I want to earn more money this year." No, 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 no. Tell your brain, "I want to make at least $200,000 a year more than I did last year." That is a deadline, and it's very specific. But you can change the deadline, 18 months, 2 years, 2.5 years, if things outside of your control influence that, interest rates or whatever it might be. Set a deadline. And of course, in this goal-setting process, we're not going to have much time tonight to talk about short-term, mid-term, long-term, but you should have short-term goals. I would consider short-term goals those which you want to reach within a month to 3 months, like a quarter of a year. Mid-range would be 6 months to 2 years, and long range would be 2 to 5 years out. Set them Short-term, mid-term, long-term. But set a deadline. Number 8, very important. Only ask for what you have control over. Only write down in your goals what you can control. They need to be based on objectives that you can accomplish through your own actions rather than relying on someone else or an outside event. It's very important to set goals that you alone have control over. You can't control how, I want my grandchildren to love me more this year. Well, come on. You can't control how someone else feels or responds to you. You cannot control events in the world that are outside the scope of your brain. You have no control over those things. Instead, create an objective that says, I want to do the things that are likely to gain more love from my grandchildren. And be very specific about what those things are. I want to have them over at least once every month or whatever it is. But be very specific. And there are many things that you can't control. Politics, the economy, the weather. That's number 8. Number 9. Whoa, boy. Ask for what you want, not what you don't want. Man, is this important. Your non-conscious brain cannot recognize negative phrases such as don't overeat, don't spill the milk. You've probably heard me use that example many times. You have got to create what's called a positive picture. We're going to talk more about that when we get to interstates here in a minute. Holy cow, I just looked at my watch and took my breath away. Time flies when you're doing this. Anyway, I have recently updated an article I wrote that's been published, 10, 11 years ago, about in athletics, you must coach your athletes to win. Never, ever coach your athletes to not lose. Did you follow that? Because if you are overly cautious and are teaching your athletes not to lose, the picture their brain sees is losing. So don't ever ask for what you don't want. Always do it in a positive. The example I've used a million times is when you pour a glass of milk for your child or grandchild and you say, whatever you do, Jimmy, don't spill the milk. I poured it too full. Well, the picture that child's brain sees in the non-conscious part of the brain, the 5, 6 of the brain that's most powerful, is a picture of spilling the milk. And that's exactly what you'll get. So ask for what you want, not what you don't want. Number 10. Once you establish your goal or goals, take some type of immediate action to bring that goal into reality, even if it's an extremely tiny step. Even if it's a tiny step. You have got to take some action. You are training your non-conscious brain to take action towards your goals. It tells your non-conscious brain that you are serious. And of course, one of the greatest laws of physics says a body at rest tends to stay at rest. A body in motion tends to stay in motion. And this is something that has created a lot of controversy. I strongly believe this. There are many who disagree with me on this. But I say start with the easiest goal to generate the motion. You know, if you got a big long freight train, it's going to take a while to get that thing moving. But once you got it moving, it's going to be hard to stop. So start with the easy stuff first. Otherwise, you may never start. And here's another word of caution. That's our 10 most important rules for setting goals. When you formulate your goals and you say them to yourself, please avoid using the words, I want. Specify what you want, not that you want it. I want a new house this year. No. I want a house with shutters, siding. I'm picturing a new house. 4 windows, 2 on each side of the front door on the first floor, 2 on each side of the front door on the second floor. Maybe a porch that goes all the way around. Be specific. I want to provide better for my family. Oh, hog manure. Your brain can't understand that. What am I supposed to do for that? I want to make at least, and by the way, this is very important too. I guess this is an 11. When you're setting quantified numbers in your goals, never limit yourself. I think I'll talk about that in a little bit in relation to your inner states. But you know, if your goal is to make it $200,000 more this year, don't limit yourself that way. Your brain takes everything you say literally. I want to make $200,000 or more this year than I did last year. Don't limit yourself. All right. Now, that's your goals. One of our Brain Apple's techniques was called pave your interstate highways. The interstates, I-N-N-E-R-S-T-A-T-E, interstates are the things you say to yourself inside that help you get your goals onto your brain's important list. You with me? So that it'll act upon them out loud. I strongly suggest that you say your interstates 3 to 5 times a day, and preferably in front of a reflective surface or a mirror, because you are training your brain to put your goals on your important list. I'll never forget it. We had a contractor from Fort Myers that weighed 365 pounds, and he had tried every possible diet in the world to lose weight, and he could not. He came to our class, and I kind of snuck into the class at that time, stuff about brain science. This is like 6-8 years ago. And how you set interstates for yourself. But you know, you should never say them in a negative way. They got to be a positive. So he formulated interstates that said, not this. He didn't formulate an interstate that said, I will not overeat anymore. I will not take second helpings. I will not drink soda with sugar. He formulated an interstate that said, I'm fit and thin and only eat healthy foods. See, that's a positive. The picture he sent into his brain was a positive picture, not a don't picture. And if you say these interstates over and over, in front of a reflective surface. I'll tell you why that needs to be in a minute. For about 30 days, it will change your beliefs and your behavior regarding those things, and it will start happening automatically. You will automatically only eat healthy foods. You will become fit and thin. This is one of my absolute favorite brain science-based techniques, paving your interstate highway with the things you say to yourself. Tony Robbins calls them incantations. That's fine. He didn't know the scientific basis for them. Jack Canfield called them affirmations. A lot of people call them affirmations. But there's some rules on these interstates. These are one-sentence statements that is training your brain to put all your goals on your important list. But there are 8 rules that you must follow when you create your interstates, and write them down on an index card. One interstate on each index card. And I suggest you not go for more than 3 to 5 goals during any 3 to 6 month period. You don't want to overload your brain. But there are 8 goals, not goals, rules for creating your interstates and what you're saying to yourself. Now, I don't care if your family thinks you're nuts standing in front of a mirror going, I'm fit and thin and eat healthy foods. What our contractor did is he took his shirt off. He weighed 365 pounds. He took his shirt off, stood in front of a mirror and said from day one, I'm fit and thin and eat healthy foods. He knew consciously that was a lie. He could see he wasn't fit and thin, but that's okay, because his non-conscious brain started believing everything he was telling it. And when he saw himself lying, that was generating emotion. And remember, you want to generate emotion related to your goals. All right, here we go. 8 rules for interstates. Number 1, your interstate has to be stated in a positive way. In a positive way. You should never form an interstate like our example of don't spill the milk, or don't overeat, or I will not smoke cigarettes ever again. Avoid using negative words, because your 5-6 brain at the non-conscious level can't give meaning to those negative words. It sees the picture you're creating of smoking or overeating. You don't want that. Jimmy, I poured that glass of milk too full, so I want you to hold it with 2 hands and enjoy it clear down to the bottom of the glass. See, there's nothing negative about that. Number 2, your interstate must be personal to you. This is kind of like one of our rules in goal setting. You remember, you can only control your own actions, your own brain. You can't control anybody else. So your interstate must be personal to you. I will do things that make my grandchildren feel good. Be careful. And number 3, it's got to be in the present tense. Not I will, not I will be, not I want to be. I am fit and thin. I am making $200,000 or more this year than last year. And it's got to be, number 4, it's got to be written in an achieving manner. It should be written as something that you want to accomplish towards achievement, towards your objective, towards your goal. Number 5, never make comparisons with others. Never make comparisons with others. I am as fit and thin as Betty Smith. No, no, no. I am fit and thin and eat healthy foods. Number 6, It must be specific. This is similar to your goal setting. Your interstate's got to be specific in numbers, in size, in color, whatever it is. It's got to be specific. Number 7, use words that trigger emotion. Just like with your goal setting. It is a tremendous advantage. In fact, some of you may have heard me talk about it. It's in our Mind Your Brain system. It's in our Revolutionize Your Brain book. One of our techniques is called Trigger a Thunderstorm. When you generate high levels of emotion, the connections you're forming in your brain are stronger, longer lasting, and fire more easily. In other words, more easily recalled. And it doesn't matter whether you generate that emotion artificially or real, as long as it's generated, because that's what causes the release of the proteins, which acts like a fertilizer in your brain to make the new connections stronger and longer lasting. So use words in your interstates that trigger emotion in you. What was that? Was that number 7? Number 6, I forget. It's got to be specific. We've talked about that with your goals. You've got to be very specific. Draw a very specific image for your brain. And then, of course, your interstates also have to be believable. You don't have to believe them yet, but they have to be believable. And what I do with my interstates, that's number 8, is I stand in front of a mirror. I put my interstates on a piece of paper, tape them to my bathroom mirror. I got one under a set of my interstates under the visor in my car, because there's a mirror in the car. And I say these things out loud. I don't say them to myself. I say them out loud. Now, if you formulate some interstates, I'll help you with this. If you write some down, send them to me in an email. Send them to me in an email, and I'll respond to you as to whether I think they're good or how you might want to change them a little bit. Not your goals. That's your business. But I mean, how you formulate your inner statement is very, very important. So I'll help you with those. Doug@brainapples.com. Doug@brainapples.com. Okay. 10 rules for setting goals. 8 rules for your interstates. You should say your interstates, 3 to 5 of them, every day, 3 to 5 times a day, out loud in front of a reflective surface. Put the inflection on different words in your interstates each time you say them. And do that for about 30 days. And by that time, those interstates will burn your goals into your RAS important list, and it will call your attention to anything related to your goals that it sees, hears, thinks, smells, touches. It's phenomenal. Can't help it. It's automatic. It's based all on brain science. All right. We're not going to have time for, I forgot to mention to you, if you had questions, to send them to me, but we're about out of time anyway, so I didn't check my emails to see if I had anything from you. If you've sent me questions, I'll send you an email back and try to answer it for you either tonight or tomorrow. But I again want to remind you of what's coming up. We've got the next Mastermind. Well, we'll try to that's February 12th. Let's use that date, that night, to answer any and all your questions about goal setting and interstates that you have. Send them to me, and we'll try to use them in our February Mastermind since it's the beginning of the year. That's February 12th. The week after that, by the way, it's a terrible thing, but they have invited me to come speak at the Hawaii Wealth Summit in Honolulu, Hawaii. Isn't that awful? To show the people in Hawaii how to train their brain to come up with money-making ideas to build wealth. Oh, man, we're going to have a fantastic time over there. I think the website is hawaiiwealthsummit.com if you're interested in learning more about that. And by the way, if you're coming up with a physical product idea, let me know about what it is before I go to Hawaii, because one of the other speakers there is going to be Kevin Harrington, who owns a company As Seen on TV, who makes millions and millions of dollars on products on shows like, what is it, QVC, and those kind of shows. And he also is one of the creators and sometimes sits as a shark on Shark Tank. So if you have a product idea you want to get in front of him, let me know. Kevin's a good guy. I met him over in London where we were both speaking, and he's just down in Tampa, so we've stayed in touch. Then, now, I don't have a date set here yet for our March Mastermind, but don't forget, we're having a Marketing for Millions down in West Palm Beach the end of January on a Saturday. I'll be sending out an email about that. If you're in that area, certainly you got to come over and see us there. Then in March, our 3-day event, which is the Bankroll Your Brainpower Summit. Friday night, all day Saturday, all day Sunday. Imagine how much we can get through in helping you generate more productivity and achievement with your brain and money-making ideas in a 3-day seminar. And man, oh man, I'll give you more details about that coming up, but keep that weekend open, 27, 28, 29 of March. It's not free. If you are interested in that 3-day event, what I want you to do is send me an email tonight, Doug@brainapples.com, because we are, some of you went to our last Marketing for Millions, and we are lowering the tuition cost to those of you who are in our Bankroll Your Brainpower Mastermind. Half price, actually. So if you want to know more about that, send me an email and I'll send you the details. It's half price for our Bankroll Mastermind members, and that tuition cost can get 4 people into the seminar, so you can split that with another couple. That would be terrific. Okay. I appreciate y'all being here tonight. Send me your emails and your questions and what you think. And if you're interested in the March 3-day event, send me an email and I'll send you what the cost information is and how to get registered for that event and what we're going to cover and everything. Good luck with your goals, you guys. Don't put this off. Get your goals written out, short-term, mid-range, long-term, and follow the rules. Then create some interstates that are based on your goals, and doggone it, you guys, you cannot lose. The world of brain science-based success awaits you. Love you all. Appreciate you being with us tonight. And let's talk real soon, and send me your emails, Doug@brainapples.com. Oh, hey, by the way, go Buckeyes. Ah! Man, oh man, did we have fun watching that game against Alabama with my whole 20-member family rooting for the Buckeyes, of course. We'll see what happens Monday. Love y'all. Have a great weekend.